And to replace the extruder assembly, the way I like to do it is I take these wires, which come from the thermistor, the temperature sensor, and the ceramic heating pad that heats up the nozzle, and go ahead and get it behind this little clip right here. You gotta be real careful with these connections. I do this one first because it goes on bottom, and it's kind of a pain to try and get this one on after you have the middle one on. So being careful with these connectors not to break them. You gotta kind of finagle it. After it gets in, I bend it backwards and then forwards a little bit so I can have a nice straight shot with these connectors. Try to get an angled view so that I can see that both the top and bottom connectors are in their proper place, because it is possible to have the top connector in the bottom and the bottom one underneath, or vice versa, and it won't be properly connected, but you'll think that it is if you don't watch it. So just take your time with these, have a little bit of patience, and you'll feel it go straight in. They don't go in very far, but you will feel them when they do make that connection. And then what I like to do is hold this one down just a little bit, and you kind of make the wires bend a little bit to your will over to the side, because they can't sit on top of here where the hot end has to make the connection. The screws for the hot end have to make a connection with the extruder assembly. Get it in there and make sure it's in there nice and tight. We gotta get these two screws. These screws are 2 millimeters, 2 millimeter Allen keys. And go ahead and get the far one started. Sometimes you gotta really push up on the hot end to make the connection start. And I'll screw it part of the way in, but not even finger tight yet. Just part of the way in. Next screw, make sure it goes in, and then we'll get this part of the leg screwed in. These do not need to be very tight, just tight enough. I'll show you how I do it. I call it little girl finger tight. So once we actually have them bottomed, sorry, I'm fumbling all around with the camera. Once we have the screws actually bottomed, making connection. Okay, right there, bottomed out. I'll just take my index finger and thumb, and then just kind of squeeze a little bit, make that twisting motion. And they are somewhat tight, but not very tight. You know, if you're a gearhead, used to working on automobiles or something like that, you're not going to need to tighten these down nearly as much as you think. Little girl finger tight. That's all they need to be. Then I'm going to come up here and I try to get the wire for the fan through this little hook over here, because it will sit and get in the way of the extruder assembly, extruder housing cover, and keep it from actually sitting properly, and your printer will give you an error. And again, just take your time with those. I got lucky with it this time. I'm not sure I got it on there right. So I'm going to take it back off, make sure I have the top and bottom connections, and ever so gently just push down, Your wire comes out, not that big a deal. It doesn't have to be perfectly behind there, just as long as it's out of the way, so that we can put the extruder cap back on. This is the part that has the fan on it. And so we'll make this last connection. Did I get that? First try. Nope, I think I had it incorrect. I think I had the top and the bottom underneath, not actually in a connection. Right there. Okay. So that's on. And just make sure that the wire for the cover does not get in the way. And you'll just feel it magnet itself on there. And that's it. That's how I change the extruder assembly. Hot end.